It may be the new millennium, but in the candy-colored sugar maples of West Quebec, it's the 1940s. Kevin Burke is taking a little spin down nostalgia lane.
That truck is a history all its own. It comes from southern Ontario. It worked on a farm. It's the majority of its life. When the father died, the son took it, and he was in the military, so it's traveled all across Canada. It's been out to Edmonton, Vancouver, and the fellow down by Delta who deals and deals in old motorcycles and old vehicles picked it up and shipped it back to Delta, and I purchased it from him. I was looking for either original or something that was a nice hot rod, and when I seen that, I couldn't resist. I wanted a half ton, it's a 1 ton, but it was in such good shape I jumped on the opportunity.
A winding dirt road leads to Kevin and Linda Burke's home, a private sanctuary with a breathtaking view of Lac Sinclair.
You're approximately 40 minutes northwest of Wakefield, in between Low and Wolf Lake. Lac Sinclair. It's one of the larger lakes in the area, and it's a beautiful spot to be. Rolling hills, the forestry, the wildlife, it's gorgeous.
How did you end up here?
By marriage. My wife's family have had the cottage next door since '56, so we had a place on the other side of the lake and a couple of other different places, and then when this particular piece of property came up, we jumped at it.
An inspiring window on the world for sure. Like his truck, Kevin's work is also rooted in the past. It's art born at one man's fingertips, created by hand, combining imagination, innovation, and good old-fashioned know-how. It certainly turns heads and is proof that what goes around, thanks to Kevin, comes around again.
Whirligigs have been around since the medieval days. There's medieval tapestries with whirligigs in them, and the Acadians were famous for them. All the East Coast were large whirligig centers, if you will. Only the wind can make them dance the way they should. The charm, it's almost the sound as much as the movement. It can't be explained, it has to be experienced.
Kevin hails from a family of craftsmen, folks who loved building and creating by hand. Whirligigs blew into his life and onto his workbench by accident.
My friend over in Ladysmith had a whirligig that had a broken wing, a rotted wing. So it started out with a repair, which led to golfing with the fundraiser for the Gatineau Memorial Hospital, who needed donations, which I donated a goose and a whirligig, which led to an invitation to go and look at some antique whirligigs down at Wakefield, which then put the idea in my head, and here we are 3 years later.
How many have you made now?
A good 45 are made, and I must have pieces for another 10 or 12, all odds and sods.
Kevin pored over books, visited whirligig museum exhibits, gathering information that would fuel the building of his own colorful pieces of folk art. Figures are individually carved from pine. Plywood is creatively shaped and pieced together. Wire is bent to form drive shafts. the mechanical lifelines of these animated vignettes. Then, each one is wind tested to ensure they can survive outside, where every whirligig belongs.
They've all, done the torture test. It's all part of the process. Like Ford, we're driving them hard in some instances. Leave it out in a good gale wind, and that's why there's very few whirligigs available today. Half of them are all blown apart.
And yet, that's what they're for, right? You don't want someone to maybe buy your whirligig and then keep it inside in their living room.
It'd be a shame. The real magic is in having them run. And it'd be like flying a kite. You pick your day, and when you're done, bring it back in. It's there to fly another day.
Old-timers call these comic weather vanes. When the breeze picks up, so does the pace at which the figures move. Some believe the resulting vibration actually drives away moles. But much of their timeless popularity is linked to the simple yet hypnotic pleasure of watching them.
The people are always surprised, always taken back by the fact that something so simple can be so entertaining. And it's all age groups, everywhere from the young to the old.
Kevin's rustic treasures are found not only on rooftops and fence posts, but the respected corridors of the art world. The Parkdale Gallery in Ottawa is thrilled to showcase these vibrant, wind-driven expressions of life.
I'm quite surprised to end up at the art gallery. In fact, I was at a couple of artisan-type stores, and I realized that for the amount of work going into them, that I would eventually have to go to that type of level of establishment to be able to sell them, because the amount of hours to carve a whirligig is, the whole process is very time-consuming.
Kevin's other wooden creations adorn trees and buildings at his home. Each piece is inspired by the natural beauty of the Lac Sinclair landscape.
How much does this wondrous place play a role in inspiring your work?
It plays a role, so much so that all of the geese on the garage, I'm going to move them to the back of the garage because they're all facing north now and the season's changing, so we'll put them all on the back of the garage next week.
Kevin's talent for woodworking is reflected in other innovative imaginings too. Swords and hand-carved shields that double as tabletops.
This design is from Glastonbury. It's St. Michael's shield from the carving, and is actually part of a table.
He crafts also a handsome line of Celtic-inspired furniture, his designs taken from the Book of Kells and animals from Ireland. He builds slab tables and chairs and gives them an Outaouais twist.
They're called pouting chairs, which has been around since the days of Shaker, and they were designed as a step stool for the kitchen to reach the upper shelves, and they're just the perfect size for a youngster who may need a few moments to collect his thoughts in the corner. Also, what's happened with the chairs is that I had a request to do an adult size pouting chair for a front entranceway, and that's just brought on a whole series of adult size chairs.
Kevin Burke has worked in many professions in his lifetime, most of them rooted in wood. His most recent incarnation as an artist and craftsman feels the most natural of all.
It's created a whole level of fun and enjoyment that it's worked out perfect so far.
For Kevin, a promising future is blowing in the wind. He's reviving a lost art, bringing whimsy to a weary world.
Do you feel this might be a bit of your legacy to make sure this does stay alive?
No question about it. It's part of the legacy, all right. It's one of many different creations that have been made. It's the purest form of entertainment, and after 700 years, there's got to be something to it.
Well, when you have one of Kevin's whirligigs in your garden, I think you want to have the wind blowing a lot.
You have to say the winds of inspiration are always blowing up around Lac St. Clair, huh? Kevin, you're one talented guy. We sure had a great time with you. What a beautiful part of the world in West Quebec. Thanks for sharing your story with us. Well, tomorrow, of course, is Remembrance Day. We hope you'll take a few minutes to remember those who have served and those who continue to serve.
And to those who have given their lives and sacrificed so much, we say thank you.
Good night.